Are you one of those people who was hoping that the Kansas City Chiefs would win yesterday? Are you really one of those people? Bless your heart, but oh boy. It's time for me to give you a little bit of an intervention. I'm Paul Gallant. This is the Gallant Says podcast. Hit it. Get it on.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Grow, mother. Are you kidding me?
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Oi! Welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast on Monday, November 24th, 2025. Live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. So yesterday, the Texans didn't play. You got to take a peek around the National Football League. And the game that I know that most people here in Houston were focused on was yesterday's showdown between the Indianapolis Colts, off to an 8-2 start. Everyone's not 100% sold on them just because of the fact that they've got Daniel Jones under center. And the Kansas City Chiefs, who were 5-5 and certainly not looking like the big bad Kansas City Chiefs of old. You know, you're looking at the Kansas City Chiefs in that game and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I mean, they're not the Chiefs of old. And you know what would help me out? You know what would help out my favorite team? If the Chiefs won. Because I want the AFC South. And all I can say to you right now is, your greed sickens me. Sickens me. The Texans started off this season 0-3. And while they're 6-5 right now and riding the high of that win on Thursday over the Buffalo Bills, they still got an uphill battle to making the playoffs. Oh, but Paul, one of the best ways, easiest ways to make the playoffs is by winning your division. Yeah, sure, that's true. But at the same time, you got to make the playoffs. You got to find a way in. And when you get into the playoffs, isn't that what it's all about? I mean, we see NRG Stadium empty week in, week out. Is it because Houston's a bad sports town? Is it because Houston's a bandwagon sports town? It's because you guys want to go past the second round of the playoffs, right? So if you want to go past the second round of the playoffs, why the fuck do you want the Kansas City Chiefs in them? We're past winning division titles, right? How many division titles have the Texans won since 2011? Is it 8? Cool, winning 3 in a row would be great. You're past the AFC South. I'm past the AFC South. So yesterday, when the Colts had the Chiefs on the ropes, up 20-9, you should have been happy with that. But of course, the Chiefs did what they always did. They rally, they come back, they win. They're now 6-5. And in a couple of weeks, you're now going to have to win that game. That's why you should have been rooting for the Colts, who I hate, who you hate, to win yesterday. You do not want these Rasputin motherfuckers in the playoffs. Because the Chiefs will end you. Just like they end everybody else. Who wants to play Kansas City in the playoffs? No one. Even if this is a down year for them. And yet, your greed. It sickens me. I'm shocked by the amount of people that seem to have missed the forest for the trees, as the old saying goes, because you want to win that AFC South. Everyone should want the Chiefs out. Hell, there was even one of those sus plays in the end zone where it looked like the Chiefs got some advantageous officiating. Again. You want that in the playoffs? You know who's not going to get that? Probably the Colts. I don't think the Colts are going to get the big market treatment come playoff time. So, I'm shocked by this. Tukey Texan says on YouTube, we actually needed the Chiefs to lose. Yeah. Because guess what? The Sunday after this one, Texans are playing the Colts. You play Kansas City, who, by the way, just signed Dameon Pierce, doing their due diligence, getting some advanced scouting in on you. How much can Dameon Pierce share about the Texans' offense with the Chiefs? Well, probably not that much, given that he could never get on the field. But you're playing them in a couple of weeks. I'm going to keep going on this. I think you were making a massive mistake if you were rooting for the Chiefs to take down the Colts yesterday. Do you know what the Colts' schedule is the rest of the way? The Colts have 4 games left against you, the Texans, and the Jaguars. I mean, the AFC South, do we believe any of these 3 teams is that much better than the others? There's a good chance that an actually competitive division for a change outside of the Titans will eat itself up a little bit. I don't know how I feel about the Jaguars after they needed overtime to beat the Cardinals yesterday. But the Colts have 4 games left against the Texans, the Jaguars, and they also play the Seahawks and the 49ers. That's a pretty tough stretch left. So they can afford to win a game against the Chiefs to help you out, to help everyone out. They could have done that. Yes, you got a better chance to win the AFC South now. Sure, great. Do you want to win the AFC South, or do you want the best possible path through the playoffs? If you want the best possible path through the playoffs, you want the Bills to keep losing. You want the Chiefs to lose. You want the Ravens out. You do not want to go up against Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. No matter how great you feel about that defense, which is probably the league's best, you got to think about it from the perspective of, can we beat this team given that our team generally seems to have lemon booty on the biggest stage possible? All I'm saying is, I get why you were rooting against the Colts. I get it, but I think you fucked up. Bless your heart, you fucked up. You should be rooting for Kansas City to be dead. Dead. You want them out. Kansas City's schedule the rest of the way at the Cowboys. Great win by the Cowboys yesterday on Thanksgiving. A week plus of rest for their Sunday game at home, Sunday Night Football against the Texans. National TV road game for the Texans. They lose yesterday. Do they still have that same drive, that same compete? I don't know. But now they definitely have it. Now the Chiefs probably think they're the Chiefs again. They've had a brutal last 3 weeks. Lost to the Bills, lost to the Broncos. Last 3 games. They did have a bye week in between those. And then they beat the Colts yesterday. And the way that they beat the Colts, the way that they rallied back to beat the Colts, I mean, this is just vintage Kansas City. and you wanted them to win. I mean, I've seen the back and forth of debate online, but while I was telling you last week, don't mythologize the Buffalo Bills, because they really are, at this point, just Josh Allen. Do mythologize the Chiefs. Do. I get why people think that the referees are there, help them out every single time they can. You know? Great point by Jay Rabbit. At this point, why are we chasing the division? History could be made with the Texans outranking the Chiefs and knocking them out of the last spot. And hey, if the Texans go on the road and beat the Chiefs in Kansas City in a couple of weeks, I'll gladly eat my words. But do any of us feel like that's going to happen? No matter how good we're feeling after that win over a Bills team that's got some real issues, do any of us think that's going to happen? I don't, at least at this moment in time, you know? I got a lot of respect for the Chiefs. You should too. They were down 20-9 late against Indy. Rashee Rice, God, that guy's scary. Scarier Rashee Rice. Patrick Mahomes throwing to him. You're trying to hold on to a lead. Or he has a sports car on a highway. What is scarier? It's a good question. I don't know. Omar says, doesn't matter, Brian. AFC South champs, Brian. Don't be conditioned by the coaches who tell you winning the division is the most important thing into thinking that that's what's good for you. I know you people, and I mean that in a loving way. You guys are so often checked out on this team, which has been very successful. I had a post last week where Mike Meltzer, my old co-host from Sports Radio 610, came on, and we were talking about how crowds at NRG Stadium are generally dead. From what I'm told, despite there being a lot of Bills fans on Thursday, it was actually pretty lit for Texans-Bills Thursday night. So a pat on the back for everybody. But this is a fan base that checks out rather quickly. And I saw some people acting like, yeah, well, they suck. They don't. They've won 8 division titles since 2011. I mean, you know how many teams would kill for that? Fuck, it took till yesterday for the Browns to have a quarterback making his first start, win his first start. Shedeur Sanders. We'll get to him later. You guys want more than the division because the division is boring generally every single year. It's boring. The AFC South's a fucking snooze fest. You want more. And you know how you get more? You get more by giving yourself the easiest path through the playoffs. You want a playoffs, which is actually possible without the Chiefs, without the Ravens, without the Bills. And yesterday, by rooting for the Chiefs to win, because you want to get that AFC South crown, you were just breathing life into a dragon who will kill you. Until the Texans beat the Chiefs on the road, I do not trust them in Arrowhead Stadium. You should neither after they blew that big old lead a couple of years back. Tukey Texan says, I'm comfortable with the schedule the Texans have left. It is not the most difficult. I think that it looked a lot more imposing on paper a couple of weeks ago. At the Colts, that's on Sunday. That's a huge game. At the Chiefs, Cardinals, they've been showing fight occasionally. The Raiders, who just fired Chip Kelly. That was a road the Texans could have gone down this year, hiring Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. Thankfully, they didn't. Oof. At the Chargers, Colts. Chargers had the week off. Their offensive line is ravaged by injuries right now. Ravaged. So you should feel decent about the schedule down the stretch, which, to go back to what I was saying originally, I just think if you were rooting for the Colts, for the Chiefs to beat the Colts yesterday, I just think you're missing the big picture. You want these fuckers gone because they will get you. There's a little magic that they seem to have. And I know all the conspiracy theories about the referees and all of that. And you know what? It's tough to dismiss them. There was a moment yesterday in the Chiefs-Colts game that a lot of people were rather frustrated by, where it seemed like Rashee Rice was out the back of the end zone, and referees said before he even caught the ball that it was a touchdown. I'm just saying. You really want that? All right. Who won week 12 of the NFL season? Is it the Cowboys? That big rally they had against the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it the Chiefs who got this big win over the Indianapolis Colts? No, it's the Rams. God damn, LA. Now, look, the Bucs are banged up. It was an awesome start to the year for them, but now you've got to wonder if Baker Mayfield's going to be out for a while after that Hail Mary attempt he had at the end of the first half where he seemed to do something serious to his left shoulder. But LA marched up and down the field on the Bucs, and their defense is up there as one of the league's best. Did you know that on this that right now, with their Week 12 game in the rearview mirror, did you know that Matt Stafford has a touchdown to interception ratio? Brace yourselves. Of 30-2. Holy shit. 30-2. And they've won 6 in a row now. They had the win over the Seahawks where you saw their defense win them the game. Yesterday was just a complete ass kicking. And that is a Bucs team that is banged up, but they are at the very least respectable. We'll see if they're respectable going forward with Teddy Bridgewater probably under center. There's an MRI I think that Baker Mayfield's going to get. We'll see if he ends up being back in there. But I don't think there's any doubt about it. The Rams easily won Week 12. I don't think there's anything that's going to happen with Monday Night Football tonight. What is it? It's not a great game. It's like, what is it, like Panthers, 49ers? I don't think there's anything that's going to happen tonight that's going to take the crown away from what LA did. They are now the Super Bowl favorites. Matt Stafford should be MVP frontrunner. And going forward, this is the Rams' schedule down the stretch. I would 100% bet on them to be the 1 seed in the NFC. At the Panthers. At the Cardinals. A game against the Lions. The Lions needed a lot to get by the Jameis Winston-led Giants yesterday. That game went to overtime. At the Seahawks, a Thursday night game. That'll be a tough one. At the Falcons, Cardinals. 2 games against the Cardinals, the fraud-ass Panthers, and the Falcons down the stretch. They're going to be the 1 seed, and they just won this week. It was an impressive performance by the Rams. And I know, I see some people saying, did they lose to the Eagles earlier this year? Yeah, they lost to the 49ers earlier this year, too. And I think it was the Mac Jones 49ers that they lost to. No doubt about it. But they won this week. Stafford's got a 30-2 touchdown to interception rate. And I think if you're an Eagles fan right now, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, fuck. Urgh. Jay Rabbit, another super chat. Shout out to you. The irony is the Texans beat the Chiefs on the road with Deshaun Watson and Bill O'Brien with a healthy Chiefs staff. I'm in the right to have a little faith. I'm just mad at Indy because they had Kansas City yesterday. Yep, that was 2019. I remember that. They also beat the Patriots, who were the defending Super Bowl champions that year. But what does that do for you, you know? You want the Chiefs out of the playoffs. Every single team in the league should want Kansas City out. I'm shocked, truly, that people were rooting for the Chiefs yesterday here in Houston against the Colts. The Texans could, theoretically, get by the Colts, and they didn't need help from Kansas City to do it. They didn't. I get it. Fuck the Colts. I hate the Colts, too. The Colts slandered my favorite player. They got their asses kicked in an AFC championship game. And then they decided, oh, well, this ball seems rather deflated. Witch hunt against Tom Brady because Brady had kicked their ass all these years. More probable than not was the conclusion. Also, the Colts balls noticeably never released. He said as he dramatically drank coffee because he's mad about that still and he's never going to let it go. Tom Brady got suspended as many games as Ben Roethlisberger for sexually assaulting somebody. Allegedly! Anyway, no one cares. No one cares, Paul. You're always talking about the Patriots. That's fine. That's fine. Who else won Week 12 of the NFL season? Because I don't think anything's really of note going to happen tonight. The Chiefs definitely won. They played like shit for 3 quarters and then pulled off a comeback win against what was the best team in the AFC through 10 games. I don't want to I don't want to make this admission. I don't want to make this admission. You know why I don't want to make this admission? Because the people who root for this person are the absolute fucking worst. You know who you are. You guys are insufferable. You can't deny it. I want this guy to succeed, but you guys, fuck you. Like the militant way with which you support this person, the militant way with which you put on tinfoil hats to talk about how the world is out to get this guy and he's a byproduct of racism and all sorts of bullshit. You Shedeur Sanders fans, I fucking hate you. I really do. Just to be frank. I want Sanders to succeed. I think it's good for the league. I also want the Browns to actually be a watchable product. They've got a great defense. Sanders is not taking them anywhere. And by the way, the Raiders blow. So don't put too much stock into what Shedeur Sanders did yesterday. But Shedeur Sanders won. And this is what sucks. The Sanders stands are going to be so insufferable. And it's not even like he had that impressive of a game. But he did have some good moments in it. I saw a couple of clips on the red zone showing Browns, Raiders. Ugh. You're stuck watching that entire game in your market. That's unfortunate. But Sanders had some nice plays in this game. He did. Good for him. Why did it take the Browns this long to put him under center? A great question. But they finally put him in. And with a week of practice, it wasn't a bad effort. Now, if you take a look at the stats, are you going to be that impressed? No. But it was his first NFL start. His stat line, you ready for this, guys? Final stat line, 11 of 20, 209 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. Who knows what happens on a drive where Sanders' best throw of the game, I don't know if it's his best throw, but he threw a 39-yard pass to Jerry Jeudy, and Jerry Jeudy is running downfield, and he just, stops walking, and a Raiders defender comes up from behind and punches the ball out. Woof. Who knows what happens if they maintain the ball on that drive. By the way, Geno Smith, Raiders quarterback, 30 of 44, 285 yards and a touchdown. So technically better numbers than Shedeur. But did you see the amount of times that he got sacked in this game? Not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, not 6 times, not 7 times, not 8 times, not 9 times, 10 times. God damn. Browns defense is scary. How many of those sacks were by Myles Garrett? Oh, just 3. Just 3. How many sacks does Myles Garrett have on the season? Oh, 18. Huh. And how many games are left for the Cleveland Browns this season? I think he's going to break the record. They got 6 games left, and he's got 18 sacks. This is like a video game. NFL record for sacks in a season. Myles Garrett won the week. More, I think, than Shedeur Sanders did. NFL record for sacks in a season, 22 and a half. He's got 18, and there's 6 games left. Jesus. He's on pace for, if I'm doing our math correctly, 27 sacks? God damn. Myles Garrett. Have a day. So Shedeur Sanders won the week. The 8-3 Chicago Bears. I don't know if I'm supposed to put stock in them, but they are 8-3 under Ben Johnson. Their defense has done pretty well this season, and they beat the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. That's one of the Bears' more impressive wins this year. Do I like the Chicago Bears as a playoff contender? No, not really. But against a Steelers defense that on paper is supposed to be pretty good, Caleb Williams, 3 touchdown passes. They were playing against Mason Rudolph, not against Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure Bears fans are a little bummed out about that because they probably wanted to beat Aaron Rodgers, not Mason Rudolph. Definitely gives a little more wind in your sail. Or in your sails, is that it? But Bears won. 8-3. Did not see that coming going into the year. I've still got some doubts about old Caleb Williams. Who else won the week? First place, Baltimore Ravens. Since the Steelers lost, the Ravens, who have quietly been winning, but not in really impressive fashion, they took down the New York Jets 23-10. They play the Bengals on Sunday Night Football next week. We'll see if Joe Burrow's back under center for Cincinnati, who was friskier than you would have expected yesterday against New England. Then they play the Steelers again, Bengals, Patriots, Packers, Steelers. Tough stretch the last 3 to 4 to 5 games for your Baltimore Ravens, but they also win the week. They're back in first place after a wretched start to the season. Baltimore was 1-5. Now they're 6-5. Very impressive. Let's read some comments on the TikTok side of things. Someone asked if we're talking about Davis Mills. No, we're not doing that. The idea that there is a quarterback controversy between CJ Stroud and Davis Mills is only being put out there by Texans content creators who are looking for a straw man to beat so that they get a bunch of likes. There is no quarterback controversy. If you think there's a quarterback controversy, there's something wrong with you. We did it as a bit because it was a Texans-Titans week. We were bored. Who gives a shit? Titans stink. Some people are confident the Texans can beat Kansas City. I do not feel great about that. Stafford won the week. Tilly in Texas says Matthew Stafford's playing like a man possessed. Cowboys and Rams both won the week, says another follower. By the way, if you're watching along on TikTok, give me a follow. You watch this every single morning at 7. Alex Flores asks, do you fully trust the Texans offense to finish out with solid offense to complement the defense? No, I don't. Definitely don't. You shouldn't either. Zach asks, thinks the Rams certified themselves as the 1 seed? Yes, I do. There's certainly a couple of toughies left for the Rams. They do have to play the Seahawks, but they also play the Cardinals twice, the Panthers and Falcons. Lions will be difficult, but I feel good about a home game against the Lions. Feel pretty good about it. There'll be a lot of Lions fans there, that's for damn sure. Lucky says Texans by 10 points against the Chiefs. You guys are fucking crazy. You're crazy. Absolutely crazy. By 10? You'll be lucky to win on the last second field goal. I just don't disrespect this team, guys. That's what a lot of you guys were doing in rooting for the Chiefs to win on Sunday. You want to have the best possible run through the playoffs. You're past AFC South titles. You don't need an AFC South title to win the Super Bowl. Texans have won the AFC South every time they've made the playoffs. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to advance far. That was sexy, huh? Little cough. Little loogie. Lubricating the throat up. Oh, yeah. Greg Todd asks on Twitch, Paul, did you see your Lord and Savior say the N-word on national TV yesterday? Yeah, I think he was trying to say Nickerson, and then he stopped himself in the middle of saying it. And a lot of people are running wild with that. Who lost week 12? Eagles. Goddamn birds. What was that? Philly was up 21-0 on Dallas after recovering a fumble and scoring a touchdown. Dallas had thrown an interception on the drive after. 21-0 in the first half. After that, for the Eagles, 3 and out, punt. End of half, they had one play. That was it. 3 and out, punt, 3 and out, punt. Missed field goal, fumble, muffed punt, punt. Choke job. By the way, the Cowboys have a wretched defense. Everyone moves the ball on the Cowboys. Everyone. I still feel pretty good about the Eagles' chances. They are the worst possible matchup for the Rams in the NFC, and the Rams look like they're going to be the 1 seed in the NFC after what they did to the Bucs yesterday. But they've got some shit to figure out. And it does feel like it all starts with the offense and its organization. In a post-Shane Steichen world, you constantly hear the frustrations, the bitching, the moaning coming out of the Eagles offense, which is pretty hilarious considering they won a Super Bowl. But why was this Eagles offense what it was after taking that 21-0 lead? What the hell happened out there? I can't figure it out. I stopped watching the game. I saw the Eagles take a 21-0 lead, was hanging out at the girlfriend's house, and the girlfriend said, yeah, let's watch something else. Because we had already watched football. We had gone to a bar nearby to watch some of the other games, and I watched Patriots, Bengals, and then we watched the end of Chiefs, Colts. I wanted to watch some more, but, I mean, they were down 21-0, the Cowboys. It looked like the game was over. Numbers for the Eagles coming out of this one. Saquon Barkley had 10 carries for 22 yards. Woof. And while the Eagles did have some success in the passing game, certainly didn't happen after the first 3 drives. First 3 drives, Philadelphia looked awesome. What happened? How did they completely fall into a shell at that moment? How are they not able to pull out of it? It's the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, Saquon, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. What the fuck happened? I don't know. But yikes. If you're the Eagles, it's got to hurt. By the way, George Pickens, god damn. Another huge game for Pickens. 9 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. What a pickup that's been for the Cowboys, for all the talk about, trading Micah Parsons off. George Pickens is second in the NFL in receiving. 67 catches for 1,054 yards and 8 touchdowns. The only guy ahead of him is Jackson Smith. I don't want to have a Tom Brady moment right there. 80 catches for Jackson Smith. For 1,313 yards and 7 touchdowns. Puka Nacua for the red-hot LA Rams is third. 80 catches, 947 yards, 4 touchdowns. But George Pickens, huge game yesterday for the Dallas Cowboys. I was looking for a post-game victory speech by Brian Schottenheimer after the game. He seems to be ripping off a man who fired him. I covered this while I was in Seattle. Pete Carroll, we did an interview with him in the morning. And I asked Pete Carroll, hey, are you going to keep Brian Schottenheimer as your offensive coordinator? This is after the 2020 season. And he said, oh, yeah, I think so. And then they fired him hours later. So he worked for Pete Carroll in the past. Pete Carroll used to do this thing where after games where it took the Seahawks a while to win, he would ask, can you win the game in the first quarter? No. Can you win the game in the second quarter? Can you win the game in the third quarter? Everyone says no, up to, can you win the game in the fourth quarter? And then you say yes. Brian Schottenheimer did that in the locker room after the game. Stolen valor? Shots fired? Interpret that how you may, but Schottenheimer's had a very impressive season in Dallas. I'm quite surprised by how this underwhelming hire has worked out great. They all seem to like him. And credit to Brian Schottenheimer. I certainly didn't believe in him. And if the Cowboys keep it up, the Cowboys make the playoffs. Because generally the Coach of the Year award goes to the coach who did the best with the lowest expectations going into the year. He's got a case, but they have to actually make the playoffs for that to happen. I talked about a victory speech from Brian Schottenheimer. Well, here's another series of very important words after the Cowboys' victory over the Eagles. The Eagles were up 21-0. Birds fans, you might want to avert your eyes for this one. That was Michael Irvin. God damn, dude. Did he come straight from the White House? The Cowboys' infamous party house before this? Were they giving him cocaine in the suite? Jesus Christ. I love Michael Irvin. That's awesome. And if you were a Cowboys fan and you know an Eagles fan in your life, you definitely have to send them that video of Michael Irvin. Wonder how sweaty he was. He was on all sorts of dust right there. It looked like allegedly. Listen, party. If you're gonna party, you're gonna party. Who else lost week 12 of the NFL season? The Colts. Colts are up 20-9. 20-9 on the Chiefs. And I mean, they lost that game in the ways that you would expect a team that's quarterbacked by Daniel Jones to lose. Jones is reverting back into a pumpkin. He's definitely going backwards. And it does make me wonder how much the Colts have left in the tank. Like, I think Shane Steichen's gotten the absolute most he can out of this Colts team. And obviously Jonathan Taylor's having an insane season, but they're not going to be able to run the ball on everybody. What were the numbers for Jonathan Taylor in this game? 16 carries for 58 yards. Daniel Jones, 19 of 31 for 181 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Colts receivers leave a lot to be desired. I don't look at any of them outside of Michael Pittman as someone to be feared. Alex Pierce is good at getting past the entire defense. He's a good deep threat. But, I mean, who the fuck is Ashton Doolin? Once again, they've got a bunch of receivers who seem like they were presidents from the 1800s with names, and you're like, who's this? What's going on? Big-time choke job by Indy. And you do have to wonder about, from a confidence perspective, Indy was riding that high to open up the year, like low expectations, but they've now lost 2 of 3. Daniel Jones has looked pretty shaky in these last 3 games. And now you got back-to-back AFC South games before going on the road to Seattle and then taking on the 49ers. There is a world where the Colts lose 3 of the next 4, if not more. And I really think that if you were rooting for the Colts to win yesterday, you had it right. If you're rooting for the Chiefs to win yesterday, from a Texans perspective, I just feel like you're crazy. You do not want the Chiefs in the playoffs. You want them dead. Do you want this coming game between the Texans and Chiefs in 2 weeks to be the tiebreaker that potentially determines things? I wouldn't, personally. But listen, we've all got our own beliefs. Losers, week 12, the Bucs. Oof. It's not just that they were blown out on national TV and it looks like the wind has completely left their sails. Yar! Yo ho, a pilot's life for me. Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. I mean, yikes. Bucks are not looking good. Baker Mayfield is hurt. A lot of other players are hurt. I do not see the Bucks turning this thing around. And while I do think they still have a chance to win the NFC South, this might be the Panthers' year. And this also might be a year where a team with a losing record wins the division. Bucks lead it at 6-5. The Panthers are 6-5, and they've got the game tonight against the 49ers for Monday Night Football to wrap up Week 12. Other losers from Week 12 on a Sunday, which we were all able to watch yesterday. J.J. McCarthy and just the J.J. McCarthy experience. You know, for all the Shador Sanders discourse, at the very least, when Sanders is on, it's an enjoyable watch. His fans are the most annoying people on the planet. In sports right now, for sure. I don't think there's a close second as far as NFL fan bases. Shador Sanders fans are the fucking worst right now. But at least he's enjoyable to watch. Has J.J. McCarthy ever been a fun watch? God, he's awful. Oh, every single time a highlight of him pops up on my screen, I feel like I'm watching Tim Tebow if he was a hardo with irrational confidence as opposed to a man of faith. People didn't like Tebow because he was very, very religious. Well, J.J. McCarthy's got this 9 persona, and do yourself a favor. Actually, don't. Maybe don't do yourself a favor. Look up his 9 persona. Oh, it's so annoying. It's so insufferable. But he is a terrible watch. And the Vikings got to roll with him going forward. And I got to say, I mean, if that's who they're attached to at the hip, Kevin O'Connell, I don't know if Kevin O'Connell is going to be able to keep being Kevin O'Connell going forward. A highly respected football mind. I just don't see it happening, you know? Ugh. Other losers, Week 12. Chip Kelly, he's fired. The Raiders fired Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. It's 12 weeks into the season. Chip Kelly contract with the Raiders, it was outrageous. He signed a 3-year, $18 million contract with the Raiders in February. $6 million a year. Highest paid offensive coordinator in the league. And he got fired after 11 games. Hey, man, go out and get a bag on the way out. Does he go back to Ohio State? I mean, that's definitely a great consultant you could theoretically bring back into the building by the end of the year. Highest paid offensive coordinator in the league. A guy that I thought the Texans should think about hiring as offensive coordinator. Thank God they didn't. He's gone after 11 games. Woof. Woof, woof, woof. Other losers. Week 12 of the NFL season. Radio stations that have been hacked. You don't want your radio station to get hacked. You don't want that to happen. It's generally bad. That's why you get, security, maybe a little LifeLock. You change your passwords. I don't really know how a radio station gets hacked, but it sucks whenever it does get hacked. That's for sure. It's not good. Definitely not good. So, Week 12 losers. Eagles, Colts, Bucks, J.J. McCarthy, Chip Kelly, and radio stations who have been hacked, if you know of any. You don't like seeing that. Near losers. Jaguars. They hung on in overtime to beat the 3-8 Cardinals 27-24. Kept on looking at the score of this game and being shocked that a Cardinals team that looks like it's close to having quit on the season were hanging around. Because they hung around a while in that one. Jaguars nearly blew this one. Overtime to beat Jacoby Brissett. Trevor Lawrence, 3 interceptions. Jacksonville, as pointed out by a commenter, I forget if it was on TikTok or on the YouTube side of things, do have a very favorable schedule down the stretch. It's Cooper, Texas on YouTube. Like and subscribe on YouTube, please, at Paul Gallant. The Colts, they play them twice. They also play the Broncos, but they've got the Titans twice and they've got the Jets. But, I mean, look at how they've struggled of late. Sure, they killed the LA Chargers last week, who were missing one of their both of their tackles, but they barely beat a bad Raiders team. They barely beat a bad Cardinals team. Is there a chance that they blow one of these games? They might win the AFC South, though. It's certainly a more favorable schedule for them than it is for both the Texans and the Colts. And speaking of the Colts, I can't believe people were rooting for the Chiefs yesterday. The Colts schedule might take care of itself and help you get back in the AFC South driver's seat. You should want the Chiefs gone forever. Crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Octavia says, yo, it's the most knowledgeable baseball. Asterisk with that one. We say that sarcastically. And football, mind. As far as the NFL goes. Toot my horn, baby. Says it's football time in Houston. Indeed it is.
It's football time in Houston. And we're ready to play.
Yes, you are right. You are right, Clay Walker. Grinding on coffee and whiskey says so many horrible teams this year in the NFL. Got to be one of the worst fucking years I've seen in pro football in a long-ass time, to be honest. I disagree. I think there are some really good teams in the league this season. I would say the absolute bottom of the barrel, it's rough. The Jets stink. The Titans, the Raiders stink. The Giants, the only team in the league that's officially eliminated, they stink. Vikings are a tough watch. Saints are a tough watch. Cardinals are a tough watch. Let's go a rung above. Falcons, ew. Commanders, season from hell. A lot of injuries. The Browns' defense is good, but they're ugly. The Bengals' offense can be good, but they lost again yesterday. But then you get to that next rung. I think there are a lot of competitive teams right now. Hell, the Dolphins are back in the mix at 4-7. They're barely on the in the hunt graphic. Oh, there are a couple other near losers I didn't touch on. The Lions, they needed overtime to beat Jameis Winston. And the 10-loss Giants, yikes. Yikes. And my favorite team growing up, the AFC best 10-2 Patriots, because the Denver Broncos are on a bye. They got their 9th win in a row, but it wasn't easy. And they got banged up along the way. Will Campbell, their first-round pick, got carted off. And I think they lost another offensive lineman in that game. And if you haven't seen Drake May's stats this season, Drake May is one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league. He might lead the league in passing yardage, but May has also been sacked 37 times. That is third in the league behind Cam Ward and Geno Smith. Is the Patriots' offensive line getting better? Sure. Are the Patriots benefiting from a very easy schedule? Yes. And even in a game where, 1, Joe Burrow didn't play. 2, Jamar Chase was suspended. 3, T. Higgins got concussed, it looked like, at some point and did not return to the game. Even in a game like that, I mean, it took them all 60 minutes to hold on for dear life and win that game. 26-20, they win. It's a near loss, and I mean, they had a lot of injured players. Got any comments? You got any questions? Let's hear them. So, I was about to throw out the phone number. Nope, not that phone number. 281-836-3912 is how you call. It's how you text. You can leave a voicemail if you want. You can also send an email to gallantsays@gmail.com. You can comment on YouTube, like and subscribe at Paul Gallant, or on X at Gallant Says Pod, Instagram at Sports Gallant, TikTok at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. We appreciate all your support. You can get this show after the fact in podcast form, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Greg Todd, there's a new phone number that actually I've almost said while on the last radio station I worked at that may or may not have been hacked. There's another phone number that every now and then I've almost accidentally said. It's the Sports Radio 610 number, 713-572-4610. There are very few numbers that I have memorized, but my original home, my best friend Mark's home growing up in Massachusetts, my mom and dad's cell phone numbers, and that's it. Like, those are the only numbers that I have memorized in my life. That's it, everybody. But I don't think it's an abomination of a year. I don't. I really don't. In conclusion, you shouldn't have wanted the Chiefs to win yesterday. I get it. You want the AFC South, but your greed sickens me. You should want the Chiefs gone, because the big picture look at the AFC with a cold schedule down the stretch that's pretty tough, you got a very good chance of catching up to Indianapolis no matter what happened yesterday. Even if the Colts won and we're 9-2 right now, you'd still have a semi-decent chance of winning the AFC South. But with the Chiefs now 6-5, that is a team that you're going to be competing with for one of the last playoff spots if you don't win the division. Do you want to depend on the result of a Sunday night football game at Arrowhead Stadium in a couple of weeks against the Chiefs? Personally, I do not. I understand how some of you out there say, fuck it, look at our defense. We look great. The Chiefs, But, I mean, it's the Chiefs. There's a little magic that they've got sprinkled on them. Who knows if the referees are a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge towards them like they have been so often. I think it's a little bit of a conspiracy theory to say, hey, the Chiefs, all their successes related to the referees. I think if you go back to that Texans-Chiefs game in the playoffs last year, sure, there were some suspect calls that sucked. But also, I mean, C.J. Stroud got sacked 8 times. They got a really good defense. You do not want to play against this team in the playoffs. You want them out. You want them gone. You don't want the Ravens in the playoffs either. Yeah, you beat them with Cooper Rush. Cool. You think they're not going to forget? You think they're going to forget the Jalen Noel schizophrenic Ray Lewis dance that you did in their house? No. They're not going to forget that. They're not going to forget that. So you should have been rooting for the Colts yesterday, not the Chiefs. The Rams won Week 12. The Eagles are the biggest losers of Week 12. There you have it. That's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. The full audio edition of the podcast will be released wherever you get your podcast. Search for the Gallant Says podcast. Subscribe, rate, and review, and make sure you're following me on all the channels so you can watch the show live weekdays, 7 a.m., YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like, subscribe, Twitch at Gallant Says. Give me a follow, but I'd really appreciate a sub. X, Twitter at Gallant Says Pod, Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on TikTok at Gallant Says, Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. Thank you so much for stopping by. We will do it again tomorrow at 7. Until then, so long, farewell.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell.